Most likely if you're watching this video, one, you're in pain, and two, you're looking for information regarding possibly having surgery, such as a microdiscectomy, laminectomy. I too was in your position just short of a year ago, so I thought I'd make a video of my experience and share with you the kind of top 5 do's and don'ts that I learned through my experience. So just a brief history on what happened with me. I woke up one day, October 1st of last year, and I couldn't stand up straight. I had excruciating pain radiating down my butt, in my thigh, and down my leg, and it was probably a 10 out of 10. It was pretty painful. So the first thing I did is went to urgent care. They diagnosed me with piriformis syndrome, which is basically a spasm of a muscle in your butt. And they gave me methylprednisone, which is an oral steroid, to help try to calm things down. That was a week-long pack that you took every day, and it pretty much did nothing for me. So my next step, I went to the ER. They too confirmed that I had piriformis syndrome, and they gave me prednisone, which is another oral steroid, and they gave me a ton of painkiller. I mean, I walked out of the ER with no pain. I couldn't feel my face though either, so as soon as the painkillers wore off, obviously the pain returned. After that, I went and saw my doctor because things weren't working out for me, and he ordered an MRI and an X-ray. So I went and did those, and it showed that I had a herniated disc in the L5S1 region. I'm not really sure how it happened. I didn't have any traumatic injury. I just woke up one day and there it was. So in order to settle it down, because I was still in a ton of pain, I went and had an epidural corticosteroid injection in my back, which is a story in itself. And that took the pain from a 10 down to maybe a 9. It really didn't do much for me. So after that, they recommended that I start physical therapy. I started physical therapy. I was going pretty much every day for an hour and a half, doing strengthening exercises and stretches and stuff. And I did that for 2 months, and at the end of 2 months, it would take me 3 to 4 hours in the morning every time I would wake up to get rid of my pain. And that could pretty much be pain-free, maybe around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that would last for about 2 hours if I didn't do much. But every morning the pain would return, and it was just as painful as day one. So eventually I decided that I had no other choice, but I didn't want to have surgery, so I went and saw a chiropractor. Going to the chiropractor, he cracked my back, was putting ice on my back, doing that electrical stimulation, and it helped, but it's still, I was still in a lot of pain. I also went back for a second and a third injection in my back, and those helped and settled things down a little bit, but at best my pain was maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10, so it was still pretty painful. I also tried at the end decompression therapy, which was probably the most helpful to me. It brought my pain levels down a couple notches. It's literally they harness you up and they pull your back apart to try to make room for your vertebrae and the discs in between. And it did help, but again, I was still in a lot of pain. So I went and saw a doctor, and I had heard through a friend that you can have an orthopedic, or you can have a neurosurgeon do the surgery. So I figured a neurosurgeon, operating, would have steadier hands, and he had done a lot of them, and I trusted him. So I had surgery the day after the Super Bowl. That was my Super Bowl, the Monday following the Super Bowl, and everything went well. So I'm literally about 6 months out now from The surgery, I'm about 90% back. You know, I have range of motion. I don't have a lot of pain and stuff. So the surgery was a success for me, but it's not an easy road. You know, there's a lot of pain involved with the surgery itself. Healing, I had ghost pain afterwards for a month or two. It literally took me 2 months before I actually would be able to wake up and actually feel kind of normal, and it probably took another month or two after that for all the ghost pain to go away. And now I say I'm at 90%, and the 5% is probably I'm not as flexible as I used to be. I was never very flexible like a gymnast, but even after all the physical therapy, I'm not as flexible as I was. My leg is still kind of tight on my left side, and I'm probably not as strong as I used to be just because I was on my back for 6 months. So along the way I learned a couple of things, and I just wanted to share what I learned. These are the 5 do's and don'ts of lumbar microdiscectomy, laminectomy surgery, or if you're thinking about doing that or similar, right, if it's just at a different level in your back. Number 1. First, I would urge you to exhaust all your other options first. So, like I said, I went to urgent care, emergency room, primary doctor, I went to an orthopedic, I went to a neurosurgeon, I tried oral steroids, I tried epidural corticosteroid shots in my back, I did physical therapy for months, saw a chiropractor, I did decompression therapy, and all those, you know, maybe in combination, they may work for you. They didn't work for me, but they may work for you. So surgery, I think, needs to be the last thing on your list. Number 2, definitely get a definitive diagnosis, which is going to be an MRI if you're in a situation like me. Even I'm not a doctor, but my doctor shared the MRI results with me, and when we went over them, it was pretty apparent what was going on, so I felt good about my kind of treatment of going forward. Number 3, do get a second opinion. Again, I was misdiagnosed twice, once by the urgent care, once in the emergency room as just a muscle spasm. It was not that. So you need to be careful of the source when you're talking with people. You know, you talk to a surgeon, he's going to tell you he can fix you with surgery. Talk to a physical therapy guy, and I love my physical therapy guy, and he did great, but he was also kind of planting in my ear saying, you don't need surgery, we can fix this, you know, by doing stretches and exercises, which I did religiously. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of the McKenzie method, you know, the press-ups and stuff. I did literally thousands of those, and it just didn't help me. So you need to be, you know, careful of who's telling you what, right? My pain guy, you know, he said that, you know, one more shot in my back and it's going to be gone. He was telling me stories about it, and, you know, I had 3 of them already in less than a 6-month period, and they wanted to give me a 4th one, and I'm like, there's no use, they're not working for me, so there's no use for another one. And then one thing I learned, you know, regarding getting opinions is I went to an orthopedic doctor. I also went to a neurosurgeon doctor, and I just, for whatever reason, felt better with the neurosurgeon operating on me. I figured if he can operate on people's brains, he can do my back, and he did a wonderful job, thankfully. So, you know, it's hard to believe what you're hearing. You don't know who to believe. Be mindful of the source, and you have to go with your gut. At the end of the day, you have to go with your gut, and you have to go with what you think is right. So that's number 3. Number 4, prepare your body for the surgery, right? It's not the easiest thing to get through. I did a lot of exercise. I was obviously going to physical therapy every day, but I wanted to be as strong as I could be, so when I did have the surgery, it was going to be an easier recovery for me, or easier. I did learn a lot at physical therapy regarding how to stretch and how things are connected, and some strengthening exercises. So I did those religiously, even though I stopped going to physical therapy because it wasn't really getting me anymore. The stuff that I learned, the stretches, even the McKenzie press-ups, I was still doing those up until the day before surgery, just to help me out. And then number 5, you do need to be aware of the side effects of surgery. Not that that your doctor's going to gloss over them, but there are side effects, and you do need to be aware of them. You think that it's not going to happen to you, and it can happen to you. And I'll just go over 2 of mine. Now, physically, everything went fine for me, and my incision healed up fine, but whatever anesthesia they used on me, it makes you forget the surgery, right? I woke up, I didn't remember the first thing about the surgery. The bad part is I don't remember people's names now. I can't remember words that I used to know and stuff, so I'm always kind of tripping over my speech now, and I attribute that to the surgery. My family thinks, no, that was, you're just getting old. I'm 49 now, but I was not like that before surgery. So there are side effects. Secondarily to that, after I had surgery, literally my saliva tasted like salt water with maybe a little dish soap mixed in for months. I was spitting everywhere I went, because I didn't want to swallow my saliva because it just tasted terrible. I'm not sure what it was. My doctor said I was dehydrated and I would drink more water, and it would only make more saliva, which didn't really do anything for me. It did finally go away, thankfully, but it was months after the surgery, and it was kind of scary. So also after the surgery, it's not a side effect, but I did have some ghost pain, and I remember watching people on YouTube saying that they had ghost pain, and I was just like, well, gee, I wonder if I have that. Will it go away? I did have it. It was on a level, if I had to rate it, it was like a 1 out of 10 scale in terms of like the pain, but it was the same feeling that you felt, on a pain level of 10 to 10. It was just on a 1 level, and it lasted quite a while, and you start doubting yourself whether or not that's ever going to go away, and whether you're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. And I even asked my doctor about it, and I asked him, is that ghost pain? And his response was, I hope so. Turns out that it was. It's gone away. I wake up and I really don't notice it anymore, which is good, but it can be, disconcerting. So, like I said, I think surgery needs to be last on your list, but if you can exhaust all the options and you're still in a lot of pain, then it's a no-brainer. 5 don'ts of having surgery, right? First off, don't rush your recovery, right? So I had a lot of time off of work already just prior to the surgery, and when I had the surgery, I took another 2 weeks off of work just to concentrate on getting better and sleeping in and resting my body. I felt good on the inside, but I knew I was still healing, right? It takes a while to heal. The surgery itself went, I was up walking within 4 hours of the surgery with, only incision pain at that point in time, and the rest of my pain had pretty much gone away, although any pain that I would have had was masked by the incision pain and my back pain. I couldn't feel it. So that would be my advice: is don't rush your recovery. Even after I took 2 weeks off, I probably worked from home. Luckily, I can for probably another 2 months, and it was a good month and a half before I woke up one day and I actually said, "Gee, I kind of feel normal again." So it was a long time for me. Number 2, don't take everyone's advice, right? I had people telling me that they mean well, but if you eat more turmeric, which is an anti-inflammatory, or eat more onion, or eat more of this or that it's going to help you and it's going to fix your back. Well, they mean well, but I got news for you. I could have ate onions till the cows come home, and it wasn't going to fix my back. So people mean well, but sometimes you just got to take it with a grain of salt, say okay, and then go on your merry way. Number 3, don't try to do it on your own. It's not easy. I have a wife and kids. My kids bought me a grabber to pick things up off the floor for literally months. If I dropped something on the floor, that's where it stayed. I was just like, fuck it. I can't reach it. I can't bend down. If I did get down, I can't get back up. So you can't do it on your own. It's pretty hard. To make your meals when your back is hurt and you don't feel good, and sometimes it's just hard to get out of bed, and you got to listen to your body. So if you can list whatever help you can, I say do it. Number 4, pain medications. I'm not a big medication guy in general. I don't even typically take aspirin or Tylenol unless I'm very sick. My suggestion on that is take as little as possible. Pain is your body's way of telling you something's wrong. You don't have to live with huge amounts of pain, but you can take some to take the edge off, or if you can't sleep that night or whatever. But I think in general, clouds your thinking, and it clouds the message that your body's trying to send to your brain about what's going on. In general, I don't think it's very good for you. There's a lot of side effects. So I weaned myself off of pain medication as soon as I could. I was, in a lot of pain, but I'd almost rather be in pain than be medicated, because I just couldn't stand the pain medication. It's just not something for me. Number 5, don't watch videos of people on YouTube and see their experience and say that's going to be me, right? I watched a lot of videos, and there was one guy who had the surgery. I think he drove himself home that same day, and there was another lady who had the surgery, and a year out she was still in a lot of pain. There was one specific lady that I'll never forget. She had, I was looking for information regarding the corticosteroid epidural shots in the back, and they missed the mark, and it can do a lot of damage to you. And just listening to her story makes you very anxious, and everybody is going to be different. So my suggestion is you can watch those, take them with a grain of salt. You're probably going to be somewhere in the middle, and it's going to most likely work out for you, right? If you have a good doctor and if you've done your homework, it's going to work out for you. So that's my story. If you have any questions or comments, down below in the comment box. Thank you.